Hi, my name's Jamie. The famous person I chose to do my speech on is John Lennon. A little background on John Lennon is he was born in Liverpool, England in 1940. He's famously known for being in the band The Beatles, legendary rock band from England. His parents divorced when John was young, so he actually grew up. He stayed with his aunt after that. When John was 18 years old, one of the most traumatic things in his life happened to him. His mother was struck by a car and killed. Her name was Julia, and that was one of the hardest things John had to go through. John was married twice, the first time being to a woman named Cynthia, in which they had a son together named Julian, who they named after John's mother, Julia. His second marriage was to a Japanese artist named Yoko Ono. Their relationship is famously known for causing tension and stress in the band The Beatles. They fell hard in love very fast. They actually met at an art exhibit that Yoko was having, and that's how they met. She was a pretty well-known artist in all over. So John and Yoko moved to the USA in 1971. They were constantly being threatened by the Nixon administration about being deported. John was very passionate about politics and peace, and the government wasn't too fond of him. John and Yoko had a baby, a son named Sean, when John was 35 years old. And John, at that point, pretty much gave up doing music for a while because he wanted to focus on his family and raising their child. John was murdered by a man named Mark Chapman on December 8th, 1980. Mark Chapman was a deranged fan who John actually signed his autograph that day, 6 hours prior to the man waiting outside of his apartment complex and shot him with a gun. What John, besides being in the Beatles, what he's known for is being, and how he influenced society, is he was a passionate peace activist during the Vietnam War. And one of the most memorable things that he and Yoko did, among many, is they used their honeymoon after they got married as an opportunity to stage a bed-in, where they stayed in their bed protesting war, promoting love, and also recording their famous song, Give Peace a Chance. The couple's reasoning for doing this was simple. They said they knew the media would be hounding them regardless of what they were doing. So they took the opportunity to speak about peace, nonviolence opposition, knowing it would make the papers. And that was pretty smart on their part, because that's how they wanted to, get their word out. Some interesting facts that a lot of people don't know about John Lennon. He was musically inspired by Elvis Presley growing up. He loved Elvis, and he wanted to get into music after listening to him. Another interesting fact is he loved cats a lot. He was actually known to have up to 6 cats at a time, and he always had cats at some point in his life. He had very poor vision. Without his glasses, he was actually legally blind. John, after being in the Beatles, a reporter once referred to him as the Fat Beatle, and that really just upset him. So he lost like 35, 40 pounds over the next year and got very slim. So he was known for not really eating much in his adult years, but he was an avid coffee and tea drinker. He drank a lot of coffee and tea. He dabbled in vegetarianism, but not as much as his two bandmates, Paul and George. They were very passionate about being vegetarian for ethical reasons along with health reasons. But John always found himself going back to eating meat. Why I chose John Lennon is because I find him very inspiring, and just how passionate he is about peace and anti-war. And he wasn't afraid to voice how he felt in a time of war. He really stood up for the people, and he viewed himself as part of the people versus being any kind, being superior than anybody. And I think that's admirable. John Lennon, I'm going to read a quote that John Lennon once said: "My role in society, or any artist or poet's role, is to try and express what we all feel, not to tell people how to feel. Not as a preacher, not as a leader, but as a reflection of us all." That's it. Thank you so much for listening to my speech.